Hello, Weirdos. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast, where we delve into perplexing mysteries and the stories behind them. I'm your host, Carrie Witt. Today we explore the intriguing case of Winston Arthur Maxey III, a very proper British-sounding name, but he was actually a 16-year-old from Idaho who vanished in 1971, only to be identified half a century later through a daughter that he didn't know he had and through groundbreaking DNA analysis via the expert C.C. Moore. I also have for you an exclusive interview with the cold case detective on this case who reveals new information, plus some intel involving unexplored underground tunnels in an antique store. I know, crazy, huh? Prepare yourself, everyone. This is the weird case of Winston Maxey III. On July 26, 1971, three teenagers were moving horses from one property to another when something catches their eye in the water. They came across the body of a young male in Snedden Creek in Coos Bay, Oregon. He had no ID on him. The young man was wearing a long-sleeved turtleneck sweater. His pants were found a short distance from him, and they are described as blue jeans laced up the sides with leather straps down the legs. The medical examiner really couldn't give any cause of death because the decomposition had been so bad. The police said that based on his memory of the medical report, the time of death was anywhere from 5 weeks to 5 months prior to the remains being found. Authorities immediately began trying to identify the teen. They investigated what they could. They canvassed the area, talked to neighbors, tried to figure out who may have been in the area, but they didn't find anything that could help identify the young man using technology available at the time. Coos Bay County then paid for a plot to bury him. I love that they did that. Good on them. However, his case went cold. Despite thorough investigations, authorities were unable to identify him or determine the cause of death. The young man remained unidentified for decades. So the first mystery begins. There was no missing report for a teenage boy. Later on, we'll hear from the cold case detective now assigned to this case. But buried is not forgotten, because this 16-year-old John Doe had a daughter, one he never knew or even knew about, and she would never stop looking for him.
Identified 50 years after his body was found in Coos Bay, and investigators finally have an answer to this decades-old mystery.
Winston Arthur Maxey III was born on November 4th, 1954 in Rupert, Idaho, which is in the country in central South Idaho, a mostly farming community. I grew up on a farm myself about an hour away. Rupert, with a population of about 6,000, is known for, well, not much. The movie Napoleon Dynamite was filmed in Preston, which is close by. Lou Dobbs, a political commentator, is from there, as well as Bill Fagerbach. Not sure I said that name right. The voice of Patrick Star on SpongeBob SquarePants. Wint, that is the name he went by, was known as a sweet and funny boy. He grew up in a little town and they moved a lot. He was one of 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls, kind of like the Brady Bunch there. In the spring of 1971, Wint, 15 at the time, left to visit his sister in Boise, Idaho, where I live now, and then took off for Oregon with aspirations of finding employment on the Oregon coast. After learning about job opportunities in the logging and fishing industries, he informed his sister of his plans to go to Coos Bay, Oregon. Tragically, the family never heard from him again. They didn't report him missing. He had run off to Oregon once before. They had gone there to bring him home, and they thought that he had done it again and would come back. His sister Marla tried to find him, but was unable to find any information. Unbeknownst to Wint, he had fathered a child before his departure. His daughter Christina Maxey, who used to go by the name Lori Miriam, was adopted by a loving family. Despite the love she had for her adoptive family, she always felt different. I always stood out, and I didn't know where that came from or why I had the likes or dislikes or why I walked the way I did or The way I talked even was different. She also didn't look like her family. She said, "I've got red hair and fair skin. No one in my adoptive family does." She said she knew at a young age that she wanted to find out who her biological family was and that her adoptive family was supportive of her search. "My dad always encouraged me to look into it," she said. "I think I was about 12 years old when I really started researching." Wow, that is really young. Good for her.
This episode of Weird World Podcast brought to you by Carrie Witt with Silver Creek Realty, serving the greater Boise area and all of Idaho. That's Carrie Witt, W-I-T-T. If you need a realtor anywhere else in this weird world of ours, call Carrie, get a free worldwide referral service. With 22 years of experience under her belt, you're going to find that experience, and her experience matters. You can find Carrie Witt with Silver Creek Realty on the World Wide Web.
In 1987, a couple years after she started her search, tragedy struck. Christina's adoptive father died in a plane crash in Denver. That loss spurred her even further to look for her birth dad. She saved up her money, and instead of going on a senior trip to Europe, she hired a private investigator to find her birth family. Within 24 hours of contacting the PI, she had the names of many people in her biological family. She was excited and reached out to her birth mom, and they made plans to meet in a week. When we first met, we hugged, and it was just like an instant connection. She said, "That was a puzzle piece that was missing and just filled my heart. I can't even describe the connection." She learned more about her mother's story. She was only 15 when she was pregnant with her and was sent to Booth Maternity Home in Boise, which provided care for young unwed mothers. Coincidentally, my grandma had her first child there around that age also. Christina and I talked for an hour the first time we talked, and we discovered we had so much in common. I was also adopted, and my birth mom was 15, and Dad was 16. Anywho, Christina said she didn't want to give me up for adoption. She wanted to keep me, but that was just not in the cards at the time. There was no father's name listed on her birth certificate. She connected with some of the family members on her dad's side, though, and that is when she found out that no one knew where her dad was. She said that over the years she had been told plenty of stories about what happened to her father, that he ran away, joined the circus, joined the rodeo. It would take modern technology, luck, and a lot of work to uncover the buried secret that would solve Christina's mystery and another mystery as well. In 2016, she submitted her DNA to Ancestry.com, hoping for a connection. No matches. She also turned to social media and started the Facebook page, "Where in the World is Winston Maxey?" in which she asked for help finding the father she never met. She also reached out to a Facebook page called Idaho Cold Cases. The owner of the page shared her story to their thousands of followers. That page is still up, so check that out. Then a breakthrough in 2017. Using a grant from the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office, the department made arrangements to have Wint exhumed. They got some bone fragments, sent them off for a DNA profile, and that DNA was analyzed by Parabon Nanolabs and none other than the C.C. Moore that we have referred to, the famous C.C. Moore. I hope to meet her someday. She is the chief genetic genealogist at Parabon and famous for solving cold cases, including the Golden State Killer, the Andy Dodge case in Idaho, which is near and dear to my heart. Cece worked for months to make the identification, and when she did, it was Winston Arthur Maxey III. She looked for his family and came across the Idaho Cold Case Facebook page and found Christina through the comments. She figured this must be a relation here. She was excited to give her the news that she had found her dad, yet sad and bittersweet to have to tell her that he died and what happened to him. Christina told me that she didn't recognize the number when Cece called, and so she didn't answer. She was excited to get the message from her and called her right back. She was devastated, though, to hear what happened to her dad. So the mystery of who the Sneddon Creek John Doe was, or Frog Boy as they called him, was solved. But one mystery remained, or should I say remains. What happened to him? How did he die? You will hear what the parties involved think in the interviews, so stay tuned. Hey, Chauncey, this is Carrie Witt from Boise, Idaho, calling you back. I wanted to see if you had a minute to talk about the cold case of Maxey that we talked about.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. I am recording right now, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, of course. And it's actually Chansey.
Oh,
People say Chauncey.
Chansey, that's cool. Okay, Chansey, cool name. So tell me when you got this case and what has happened since you've been working on it.
So I started looking into the case about 2 years ago. I work exclusively on cold cases for the Hughes County Sheriff's Office. And the case was of interest to me, especially since you're looking at someone who had been unidentified for so long and then, now had an identity.
Yes.
And the story, which was very sad, such a young person, and his daughter,
Christine. Yeah.
Yeah, she had reached out to the department, and one of the other deputies mentioned to me that she was going to be coming to the sheriff's office to talk about her dad's case. And I had been looking into it a little bit. We have a lot of cold cases, so but we talked it over, and I told her, kind of some ideas that I had. And we basically come up with kind of a game plan for, how to work on this case. It's very difficult with cold cases, especially cold cases who, there was no technology at the time.
Yeah.
No cell phones, anything. And, you can say that, oh, they should have done this or that back then, but, that we just don't know the circumstances of everything. So once I started establishing, exactly how he was found, who found him, all the people who were kind of involved in it, I found that there was a casing, a bullet, a .22 caliber that was found at the scene.
Oh.
And at the time, they had run that against a gun that was a possible suspect. It came back that it was not from that gun. So that's something I'm looking into trying to possibly get rerun.
Yeah.
Right now, our evidence, we have a new sheriff, and he's been trying to get our evidence squared away because, years and years of evidence can pile up, and if it's not organized in a great way, it can be difficult to find stuff, especially old cases.
Right.
So we're getting everything cataloged correctly, and they're doing an amazing job. And so I'm hoping to get that rerun. There's systems that can look at that and are just incredible. They can trace weapons that were ever used in a crime. So that's something I'm looking into. I'm also hoping that there's something called LIDAR. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, do tell.
It's called light detection, or it stands for light detection and laser light pulses. And ranges, light ranges. I apologize. And anyway, it basically can, like BLM, they use it for their forest, and it can basically take light to make measurements of geographical areas, and it can tell like how far something is, how deep something is, can find objects that are in the ground. It's really, really incredible.
That's great.
It's really great. There's another version of it also that can go into water, and it can see any anomalies within the water and how deep the water is.
Wow, isn't technology something?
It really is.
Oh, it is really fantastic. All these cold cases are being solved by, generation DNA and different technology like this, and even AI is helping all kinds of things, and it's so incredible. I did not know about that bullet casing. From the research that I have done, it showed or said that there wasn't a sign of foul play. And so this kind of would lead toward that not being true and that it possibly was.
Yeah, so his body, unfortunately, too decomposed to really tell a cause of death. But because there was something found in the area, I mean, not to say that is what killed him, but because that was found there, it's a possibility that that could have been what happened. We just don't know.
Wow.
Because back then they didn't know how to identify a lot of things on a body, especially any kind of, forensic anthropology.
Right.
It wasn't something that was heard of back then.
Are the bones still in good enough condition that they could do an upgraded technology on the bones?
I know that our medical examiner, the body was exhumed, and that's how he was eventually identified through DNA. But there was really nothing new to report, in the binding. And to me, that kind of says that not necessarily that, it couldn't have been homicide, but if say he had been shot or stabbed or anything like that, it might not necessarily have hit a bone, but could have nipped, an artery there's all kinds of possibilities.
Yes.
So back to the LiDAR. So basically what I'm hoping to do is where his body was found at Snedden Creek, I'm hoping that we can take a LiDAR and go over that creek area and see if we can find any anomalies.
Oh, cool.
Because I know that his daughter said that they never found his wallet, and he also had a necklace that he wore across, and that was also never found. Oh, that'd be cool to find that. To find anything would be cool, but especially to find something that would help solve the mystery of what happened to him. That is really cool. So this is on the radar to do pretty soon? Yes, I'm hoping to do it once the weather gets nicer here, so that everything's just clearer and easier for everyone. And I'm hoping that we can actually get in the water ourselves. I have an underwater metal detector, and also I have kind of like a radar for water as well, that I'm hoping to get in there, and an underwater camera. So I'm going to try kind of different methods to see what we can find, if anything. And technology is how these cases are being solved, and it's kind of the only way.
Yes, absolutely. Well, great. That is great. I am excited for that. I'm sure Christina's excited for that. She didn't tell me that when I talked to her, so I'm going to call her again and talk to her about that. I'm sure she's excited for what you guys are going to be doing. Are you having anybody document that through video or any other way when you do it, or would you consider that? That may be something we can do. I don't know. Possibly.
I don't know. I'll have to talk to the sheriff and see how he feels about it.
Okay.
And then, we can definitely let you know there. And I'm trying to think what else I want to. There's a couple of other things that we're going to be looking into too. One, I don't know if she told you about the underground tunnel.
I believe she did. Remind me.
So even people think that human trafficking is a recent thing, and it truly is not.
Oh.
It has been around for an incredibly long time.
Yikes.
I mean, even in 1971, human trafficking was very prevalent, unfortunately. And so it's an angle that I'm looking at, because we have a couple of other young guys that were around the same age as Maxey.
Oh.
That were found in water.
Oh.
And so it's something, it's hard to tell, okay, was this an accident? What happened? Just like, in Maxey's case. So I'm looking into those also, but it makes me think, okay, could this have been a human trafficking, something going on there?
Oh, wow.
And I can't discredit any angle, basically.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I'm going to, I had heard rumors about an underground tunnel system, and I thought, okay, this might just be people talking in the area. I know they do exist, but doesn't mean that, we have one here. But I had heard rumors of this antique store that actually had access to the underground tunnel. And,
wow, that sounds like a Stephen King novel area. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, I went to the establishment and asked them, hey, can you verify this? And they said, absolutely, we've been down there. And so I thought, wow. So my plan is to hopefully get permission from the owners to go into the tunnels. And also, I'm hoping to talk to some local people, especially the homeless community, because, rumor has it that they use those tunnels still. Wow. And we have a port, in our area, so hard to say, and it would be, great if I could get down there because it would at least give credence to that possibility.
Wow, absolutely, and that would be another good thing to record and get that on video of what's going down there. And see all what's happening coming through there. Who knows what's going on in there? That's definitely something that needs checked out. Wow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I can't, like I said, I can't rule anything out. I can't rule that it was some kind of, an accident that happened to him, or human trafficking or drug. I mean, it's hard to say. But I do know that the circumstances are odd because it was shallow water and it's just very odd.
Yes, it's very odd. It didn't look like a drowning. He's too young to die from natural causes, you would think. What in the world? Yeah, what in the world happened to him? And now we got an antique store with tunnels, underground tunnels. Wow, that is something. That is very interesting.
It is. And our area, we have a large amount of missing people. I don't know why. So, if there's a connection there, with why we have so many, that it would make sense. So it'll be interesting to go in there and see what exactly is there, and when were these created, who created them, and why? Was it originally a bootlegging thing or what?
Yeah, being close to the ocean, all kinds of possibilities for multi-nation traveling. Like you said, do you have a lot of recent missing cases?
We do have a couple that are not like the latest one. He was found and deceased, unfortunately, but we do have a few from 2022 and one from 2023, I believe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Coos Bay is just a small area. I've been to it a few times. A lot of rain you guys get there, like 300 days of rain or something?
We do have a lot of rain. It seems the summers have been getting warmer, I've noticed, and we have been getting a lot, our weather's been a little crazier with the rain and the wind. In fact, we have high wind warnings today.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been crazy, and the road that I live on, actually, we had the road collapsed.
Goodness.
Over a culvert. So we have to take the long way around to get home.
Wow. Watch out for mudslides and all that. The goodness sakes. So do you have any leads on who you think it might be right now?
Yes, actually, I do have a few people I'm looking into. I mean, it's hard, it's hard to know, like, exactly where it'll take me. But the good thing is a lot of people are still alive, which makes it a little easier to try and talk to people. Mm-hmm. So I do have some really good leads that I'm definitely checking into. Mm-hmm. And, of course, when you, reinvigorate a case, when people hear about it again, sometimes, people's conscious, they start to think, maybe it's time. Maybe I need to talk about this. And, that's always what we're hopeful for, too, is that people finally tell the story of what happened.
Yes, that's why we're doing this today. If anyone has any news, any leads, anybody at all, even if you think that you don't, if you saw something, if you lived in Coos Bay during this time, if you may have seen something along these areas, how do you say it, Snedden Creek?
Yes, Snedden Creek.
Snedden Creek area, and when was this again?
1971.
Yeah, when was he found? What month, do you remember?
Let me look at my paperwork here for his case. I'm trying to remember what month.
I'm trying to remember too. But anyway, we'll just say 1971 or any time before that. If you know of anybody that was working because he was trying to go there to work in the fishing and the lumber industries. And if you worked in those industries, talk to people your coworkers, talk to people and try to help us find some leads, even if you don't know anything. Please, we're asking this for Christina Maxey and her family that would love answers. She's put a lot of work into finding her dad for years and now trying to find out what happened to him. And also a lot of work is being done by Detective Chancey here. And I thank you for the work that you're doing. It sounds incredible. Please keep in touch. And I'd love to hear about the the light and laser thing that you're going to do, and also the antique store with the hidden underground tunnels. I want to come and help. If you want somebody to come and document this, I'd be willing to get in on that. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it sounds very fictional, but it's true.
I'm a fan of Stephen King, and this would be right up my book. Okay. So you see this being solved, right, Detective?
Yes, to me, no case is closed as long as somebody remembers the victim.
Oh, that's a good quote. I like that.
And so, there's always hope. So, I will do my very best, and on cases, it's not something I give up on.
That's great.
I'm a pit bull.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, get in there and fight and get this case solved. Well, I'm rooting for you, and anything I can do to help, let me know. I appreciate your time with me today. And let me ask you just one other thing. What do you think happened?
I honestly, just the situation of what happened, I do think it was likely homicide.
Yes.
There's, always a possibility that, something happened and it was an accident. But I think likely that somebody decided that his life, was going to end and ended it.
I know, I do. I think so too, and that's sad and terrible. But we're gonna get this solved and get some justice for this family. And I thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Thank you for talking to me and for helping us to not forget these cold cases.
You're welcome, dear.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of Winston Arthur Maxey III. But guys, you got to stay tuned for part 2. I will have for you the conclusion of the story and an interview with Christina Maxey, no less, Wint's daughter. This episode of Weird World was produced and written by me, Carrie Witt, the custom music and editing by my son, Austin Witt, and commercial by radio host Melissa Don. Thank you to all of the above, plus Detective Chancey and Christina Maxey. And thank you to you, the listeners. I appreciate you all.